All right, everyone, we need to talk immediately because what's unfolding right now is absolutely game-changing for weather patterns across the entire United States. It's Friday, January 2nd, 2026. What I'm about to show you is going to blow your mind because this isn't just another weather forecast. This is reality unfolding in real time as we kick off 2026. We're breaking down exactly why a massive pattern flip is absolutely supercharging into what could be the most volatile January in decades, the critical timing you need to prepare for, and the temperature swings that are going to create unprecedented weather chaos across entire regions. But here's the thing that should really grab your attention. This energy isn't done with us, not even close. This same atmospheric monster is already eyeing the entire eastern half of the country, which could mean massive storm systems are brewing on the horizon. We're going to walk through the entire unfolding pattern and the major implications for the eastern states, because what's developing could be the setup we've been waiting years to see. First things first, let's look at what occurred during New Year's Eve, because the situation last night was absolutely wild. Heavy snowfall was pounding North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and Michigan throughout the evening hours. All of these states were dealing with very heavy snow already falling from the sky as millions of people were traveling for New Year's Eve celebrations. We had thunderstorms rumbling down south across Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri as well. This severe weather threat continued underneath this system, creating a multifaceted weather disaster happening simultaneously across a huge swath of the country. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. If you're tired of the brutal cold we've been experiencing, I've got news that's going to shock you. A massive warm-up is officially confirmed for January, and we're talking about temperatures soaring 15 to 25 degrees above normal from Houston all the way up to Minneapolis. This will absolutely impact everything from Denver straight across to Nashville, from Kansas City up to Chicago, from Oklahoma City over to St. Louis, and from Dallas all the way up to Des Moines. This is the Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10 day outlook, and what you're seeing is a monster ridge forming over the plains that's going to absolutely supercharge temperatures. But here's the kicker that makes this unprecedented. This warm-up doesn't begin until January 5th, which means it's going to potentially melt massive amounts of the epic snowpack we just built up. This will especially impact northern Michigan, western New York, northern Pennsylvania, southern Ontario, Vermont, New Hampshire, and the entire Great Lakes Snowbelt region. But we're still going to add significantly more snow within the next couple of days, so this dramatic warm-up isn't happening immediately. We've got serious cold to endure first, especially east of the Rockies, before this historic pattern shift kicks in. Now let's talk about why this is occurring, because understanding the meteorology helps you grasp just how significant this situation really is. This pattern shift is being driven by multiple global teleconnections: the Arctic Oscillation, North Atlantic Oscillation, and Pacific North American pattern all aligning in their most favorable phases. With this warm-up, we're also going to see an explosive increase in storm activity. Look at all this atmospheric energy that starts absolutely erupting after January 8th. We're going to have trough after trough hammering through, and cold air is going to battle this warm air invasion as we move into what could be a legendary January. This warm versus cold air collision is going to unleash an incredible number of powerful storm systems. Some regions are going to get absolutely buried in snow, while others face severe weather threats that could be devastating. We could see ice storms that cripple infrastructure from Oklahoma straight through Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and into the Virginias and Carolinas. But before we get too caught up in the future chaos, let's focus on what happened during those absolutely critical overnight hours. If you were traveling for New Year's Eve last night in the Ohio Valley, northern Kentucky, central Pennsylvania, western New York, southern Michigan, or northern Indiana, you experienced exactly what we predicted. Anywhere from Pittsburgh to Buffalo, from Cleveland to Detroit, from Cincinnati to Columbus, from Toledo to Erie, from Akron to Rochester, people faced an immediate and dangerous threat from intense snow squalls. We had been dealing with snow squalls recently, but last night was a completely different level of intensity and danger. This wasn't just heavy snow. This was the kind of squall system that makes travel impossible, that strands people, that creates life-threatening situations for anyone caught outside. Right as this system reached its lowest pressure and highest intensity, and I'm talking about a legitimate bomb cyclone here, we saw heavy snowfall absolutely hammering portions of Wisconsin and the western upper peninsula of Michigan. Once we reached midnight, things really got going for the entirety of that upper peninsula with heavy, relentless snowfall combined with very strong winds. It was highly probable that we had legitimate blizzard conditions occurring throughout many of these areas. That absolutely razor-sharp squall line formed exactly according to the high-resolution models around Chicago at approximately 5 p.m. yesterday. We saw significant snow develop across Chicago, Rockford, Joliet, extending all the way over to Fort Wayne, South Bend, and into southwestern portions of Detroit, Grand Rapids, and Kalamazoo. This system picked up tremendous energy off the Great Lakes, and that incredibly sharp cold front formed right in this corridor. This continued for several hours as we moved through the overnight hours. We started seeing the lower portions of Michigan getting hammered, especially the western areas of the lower peninsula. They were dealing with that heavy snowfall as well, and their totals piled up extremely high. Northern Illinois and northern Indiana got involved as we reached those really early morning hours, when temperatures were at their coldest and snow accumulated most efficiently. That was an absolutely impactful 5 to 10 minutes of heavy, relentless snow for Cleveland, Fort Wayne, Toledo, Akron, and surrounding areas. We had intermittent blizzard conditions for that brief but intense period as it barreled through Columbus around midnight, Pittsburgh around midnight, and Youngstown around midnight as well. This powerful system cleared the Great Lakes around midnight, and Indianapolis, Louisville, Lexington all experienced this system as well. There was some mixing between rain and snow in places like Indianapolis and Cincinnati. But here's what's incredible. This system pushed all the way down into Charleston, West Virginia, Huntington, Parkersburg by 4 or 5 a.m. this morning. Down in my area, we caught the tail end of this system early this morning. Then, this energy phased with some energy in the Atlantic Ocean and caused significant deepening of a low-pressure system. Now, I wouldn't call this a classic nor'easter, but in the Cape Cod area, around Boston, Providence, Hartford, up toward Maine, this led to a heavy dumping of snow. But like most clippers of this intensity, the main story is the absolutely devastating lake effect snow that's happening right now. You're getting completely buried in snow if you're in the lake effect, snow belts around Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Watertown, Erie, Cleveland, and the entire Tug Hill Plateau. There are several locations that are ending up with multiple feet of snow on top of what you already had. In fact, by this morning, there are some places in upstate New York, particularly south of Buffalo, east of Cleveland, and west of Rochester, that have seen 23 inches of additional snow. Some areas south of Buffalo have received 14 inches. West of Toronto, we're talking about 13 inches of additional snow. Western Michigan saw slightly less, but still 3 to 4 inches west of Kalamazoo, around Grand Rapids and north of Muskegon. In northern Lower Michigan, we saw an additional 8 inches on top of what was already accumulated thanks to these persistent lake effect bands around Traverse City, Petoskey, and Gaylord. There were also significant winter impacts in the upper peninsula of Michigan, with over a foot of additional snow around Marquette, Escanaba, and Iron Mountain. Understanding the meteorology behind this helps you grasp why these totals were so exceptionally high. Lake effect snow occurs when extremely cold air masses move over the relatively warm Great Lakes, creating intense convective snow bands that can dump enormous amounts of snow in very localized areas. Now let's talk about the bone-chilling temperatures that accompanied this system, because the cold was absolutely brutal this morning. We saw temperatures near Milwaukee, Green Bay, north of Madison, Minneapolis, Duluth, and Fargo that were right around zero or even below zero this morning. Way up in northern Minnesota, Grand Forks, Bismarck, we're talking about -5 degrees, and we had significant winds with this system as well. With wind chills, it felt like -20 degrees or even colder as we transitioned into the first day of 2026. Down in Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Nashville, Memphis, this morning temperatures dropped to around 30 degrees. Any snow or rain that fell as a result of this powerful cold front immediately froze this morning, especially from St. Louis up to Indianapolis, Columbus, Detroit. It was extremely cold in upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire as well, though not quite as brutal as what we experienced up in Canada. Look at those temperatures, negative 25 degrees raw temperature, without even factoring in wind effects. Now, while we were all dealing with snow and freezing temperatures in the east, they experienced the complete opposite in the west. They warmed up significantly and received substantial Pacific moisture that created thunderstorms in Los Angeles, San Diego, Riverside. The intensity of this western system really ramped up dramatically last night through this morning. This delivered a significant amount of rainfall, potentially 2 to 4 inches of rain once again in areas where there are recent burn scars around Malibu, Ventura County, and Santa Barbara. We received reports about evacuations being put in place in anticipation of dangerous debris flows. This was another extremely impactful system for our friends in southwestern California, another 2 to 4 inches of rain. And it wasn't only the rainfall we needed to worry about, we also had severe thunderstorms developing. This morning, we saw real convection, genuine thunderstorms that were capable of rotation moving through the Los Angeles area, Orange County, and the Inland Empire. What's absolutely mind-blowing is that on Christmas, we actually had a legitimate tornado in this region, a real confirmed tornado. And this morning on New Year's Day, we potentially saw another one in this area, which is just absolutely crazy to comprehend. It's incredibly rare for tornadoes to occur at all in this region, but specifically on Christmas and New Year's Day, what in the world is happening with our atmosphere? Due to this tornado threat, we had a marginal risk issued by the Storm Prediction Center for Los Angeles, Santa Clarita, Long Beach, Anaheim, and Pasadena. This meant the Rose Parade was incredibly wet and potentially volatile. Even without tornadoes, these storms brought destructive winds. There were significant power outages across the entire Southland. But it wasn't just the wind. Soils were still completely saturated from Christmas storms, and this triggered a slight risk for flash flooding, mudslides, and debris flows. This was obviously a major concern for the transverse ranges near recent burn scars. The bottom line is this: we just experienced an absolutely wild New Year's Eve and New Year's Day across multiple regions of the country, and this is just the beginning. That massive warm-up is coming. The pattern is shifting dramatically, and January is shaping up to be one of the most volatile months we've seen in years. Stay prepared, stay informed, and buckle up, because 2026 is starting off with a bang.